now on the Michigan Megacast is Ashley Gibbard. She is the marketing manager at the Better Business Bureau serving Eastern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. Ashley, thank you for joining us today.
Sure, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate having you on. So first off, as always, there's always some new scam that is in the works for scammers out in Michigan and around the U.S. and around the world. And these scams tend to not just affect one certain area, they affect a large number of people. In Michigan, there's been a few particular scams that have been noteworthy of late. One of them in northern and in southeast Michigan has been what are called sextortion scams. In one recently very tragic story involved a 17-year-old boy in the Upper Peninsula who ended up taking his own life as a result of being in the throes of a sextortion scam. First off, for those that are not familiar with this terminology, can you define what a sextortion scam is?
Sure. It's something to the effect of asking for pictures or something very personal, something compromising of somebody and using it against them, using it as blackmail.
So typically, how are these in particular cases developed? About how long necessarily are these cases being worked on by the scam artist? And how do they even get involved with these individuals?
Right. So what we were seeing with this one happened very quick from the starting point to the exploitation point of things. So we first heard about it in the UP, and then we did receive a few reports of it down here in the Metro Detroit area. What had happened was a scammer creates a fake Facebook profile or social media profile and tries to connect with teenagers. These all have been under 18 individuals, so they try to connect with teenagers on the basis of, hey, we both like soccer, hey, we're both going to the same college in the fall, things like that. So they try to get a teenager to friend them on social media based off of that criteria that they can find on a teenager social media. So based off what they post, they can tailor their account to be kind of similar. So what happens is they connect with that teenager and then they're shooting messages back and forth. And then the scammer asks for compromising photos of the individual. And unfortunately, those individuals have sent them, and then they use that as blackmail. They say, hey, if you don't send me some money, I'm going to put these out on the internet. Well, what we were seeing that is even that if the teenager did pay them money, it was never enough. So once they paid them, they would ask for more and more and more. And then inevitably, it's too hard for the teenager to come up with that amount of money, and the images do end up out on the web.
So ultimately, when it comes to being a victim of these kinds of scams, what sort of actions can be taken by the consumer to battle the scammer, if there are any?
Yeah, so we recommend reporting it to us so that we're aware, but also go to your local police department and file a police report that way as well.
We're joined by Ashley Gibbard, the marketing manager for the Better Business Bureau serving Eastern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula on the Michigan Megacast. More information can be found on bbb.org, or you can go to various social media to keep up to date with the Better Business Bureau locally for Eastern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula. Facebook.com/mybbb, and on Twitter, their Twitter handle is BBBEMUP. So BBBEMUP is their Twitter handle. For more information on the Better Business Bureau of Eastern Michigan and the UP, and correction, that's BBBEMIUP on Twitter is their handle for more information. We're joined by Ashley Gibbard from the Better Business Bureau on the Megacast. So there are so many ways that may be fairly obvious, or in terms of how to avoid these kinds of scams. Don't talk to people you're not familiar with online. Get more verification that these are in fact people that you know. What other suggestions are there from the Better Business Bureau in particular for those, especially children who are particularly being affected by this at this time in Michigan, as you've said, but also adults that may fall victim to these kinds of scams?
Yeah, so on top of what you mentioned, not friending people you don't know, looking at when an account was created. If it was created 2 days ago, chances are that's a scam. You can also do if something looks kind of suspicious, like their profile picture, we call things too hot to be true. So if someone's just extremely attractive, you can also do something called a reverse image search on Google, where maybe you copy that picture and check it out online to see if it's been used elsewhere. We also recommend we kind of look at personal information as currency, right? So you want to be extremely careful what you put on social media. And yeah, you might be thinking, hey, just my friends and family are looking at this. No big deal. It's no big deal to post, where I'm going to school or what I'm doing this afternoon. But really, that is a big deal because that's how scammers can curate accounts to get in contact with you and relate to you on some manner, so then they have something to talk about with you. So you want to be extra careful what you're sharing on social media and keep that privacy up to date. Keep it as locked down as possible.
BBB.org for more information from the Better Business Bureau and to get more localized information as well on scams that are particularly affecting you in your area of Michigan, but also those general scams affecting people all across Michigan and around the U.S. BBB.org. And they also include some tips and tricks for you to avoid being a victim of a scam or at the very least, to gauge whether or not somebody is likely to be telling you a mistruth or a lie and trying to scam you into something. Ashley, also a common scam right now that's been a scam alert released by the Better Business Bureau is regarding phishing emails, particularly from retailers, in particular Amazon, and with post Prime Day offers or offers that were leading up to the recent Amazon Prime Day. What is the nature of this particular scam, and how is it particularly making people in Michigan victim?
Yeah, so this can come in a couple different ways. Typically, it's text messages or emails. Recently, we have had a lot of reports of people actually getting phone calls from someone claiming to be Amazon customer support. The biggest thing with that one is please know that Amazon will never call you. But with the text messages and the emails, especially coming off of Prime Day, you may have ordered a ton of stuff, so you don't even know what's coming, what day, what's shipping when. And scammers are well aware, they're well educated on what's going on within our society. So if it's Prime Day, they're going to amp up those Amazon scams. So you may receive a text message that say, hey, your credit card didn't go through, or something's been delayed shipping. Please click this link to find out more. Please click this link to update your information. If you receive something like that, whether it be a text message, email, that is a big red flag that it could be a phishing scam. So you want to be sure, if you think there might be an issue, go log back onto your Amazon account and check out the settings. And if there's an issue, it'll appear there. But scammers are very savvy, and they definitely take advantage of when something is going on, and a lot of people are focused on one thing.
With regards to that phishing, to those kinds of phishing scams, how does that typically get to that breaking point where now it is a problem for consumers? Is it often that they're clicking these links and then providing personal information, or is just clicking on those links, whether it be email or text message or whatever it is just clicking on that link the point where you are giving this personal information to someone who is trying to scam you?
Yeah, so unfortunately, just clicking a link can download malware onto your device, and then the scammer will have access to everything you have saved on that device. So any passwords, any credit card information, anything like that, they would have access to that. And then if you do click the link, it may also take you to a form or update your account information, and they want you to enter personal information, so then they have your information that way. It can also get to a point where they tell you that someone has bought something using your account, and that you are responsible for the money owed because they used your account, and then they can get money out of you that way. There's a few different ways these types of things can snowball, unfortunately.
And these are kinds of things that can be very easily affecting consumers here in the state of Michigan or anywhere else, because these text messages that you may be sending, they may seem like an automated message from these different retailers. Those emails you're picking up from these scammers for Amazon or for other retailers, they look identical in some cases to the emails that you regularly get from these retailers. So what are some ways that consumers can tell the difference between this is a legitimate message from this retailer and this is probably a scam?
Sure. So the biggest thing is whether it be an email or a text message. If it's an email, you can go up to the top and hover over that email address that it came from. And it may even say, Amazon customer support. But if you hover over it, something else might appear, some other email address, a random Gmail, something like that. Same thing with a text message. With those links, you can hover over them to see where they're actually taking you. It may look like it's taking you to Amazon.com, but it's probably taking you elsewhere. So those are two of the biggest things, is to hover over anything before you click on it or respond to anything. Another thing, especially with the emails, is grammar. So even, a simple message like, hey, update your information. Scammers typically don't speak the way we would. So just read over that email. And then if something seems off, delete the email and go directly to Amazon. And then always be mindful of, did I just place an order? I know on things like Prime Day, it can be a little bit hard to keep track. Maybe you place multiple orders in a short amount of time. But hey, does this make sense that I would have placed this order and there would be a problem with it? Things like that.
And it's a really easy step that consumers can take when they get emails from any of these retailers, whether it be saying something that's urgent about your account or even just an advertising email that you typically get as a condition of signing up for an account on one of these different businesses' websites. No matter what you're doing, no matter what kind of email you're getting, if you're clicking through and you're reading the contents, the first thing you can do is simply just look at the email, as you said. And often you'll be able to tell quite easily if it's a fake email, because often they're not really doing much to hide that it's a fake email. If it's not ending in the website's name or something like that, that's a pretty good sign that this is not legitimate.
Right.
We're joined by Ashley Gibbard, the marketing manager for the Better Business Bureau, serving Eastern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula on the Michigan Megacast. You can find more information on a lot of different helpful tips and tricks, as well as how you can look into a variety of different businesses in your local area and across the Great Lakes state by visiting bbb.org. In addition, you can follow the Better Business Bureau on various social media, including Facebook, My BBB, and on Twitter, the Better Business Bureau, serving Eastern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula, is at BBB EMI-UP. So just remember, Better Business Bureau, BBB, Eastern Michigan, EMI, and the Upper Peninsula, of course, UP, at BB EMI-UP on Twitter for more information. Ashley, one other scam that is currently going around in the state of Michigan, we know it's very tough right now, and it has been for a while, for people to buy a car with supply chain issues, with there being a backlog of supplies going to different factories to build some of these new cars. With that being the case, so many people are looking to buy gently used cars or moderately used cars even. That's creating a new market for scammers also, who are looking to swindle people just trying to get themselves in their next vehicle. Can you tell us about some of the common scams going around in regards to used car sales?
Yeah, sure. So the biggest one we're seeing right now is because used cars and cars in general are so hard to come by right now, people turn to things like Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to look for cars. And unfortunately, scammers know that and they can take advantage of that. So what happens is someone will see a posting for a vehicle and it'll be a great price for the age of the vehicle and the mileage on it. It'll just be an amazing price that they're not seeing anywhere else. So of course, then they'll contact what they think is the seller, and they'll have a conversation back and forth. Typically, this is over either, Facebook Messenger or text messages of some sort, and they will go back and forth a few times, and then the scammer, who they think is the seller, will let on that, oh, I live in another state, but it's no problem. I can get the car shipped to you. All you have to do is pay the shipping company, and it shouldn't be a problem. So they ask you to wire money to this shipping company that they're supposedly working with, and they will get your car delivered to you. Your money will be in escrow until your car is delivered. No problem. But what happens is, the scammer is actually in cahoots with the shipping company they require you use. They get you to pay money to the shipping company, normally via wire transfer or gift card or peer-to-peer payment app, something like that. And then what happens is, because they're in cahoots, they just kind of take your money and run. No car gets delivered, and you really don't have any way to get your money back at that point.
So what are the ways that consumers can go around, potentially falling victim to these scams? What should they be doing as they engage interest in a certain vehicle and are at the point where they're willing to buy?
So a couple of the biggest things you can do is, regardless, if someone's out of state, we understand, but you always want to see that car in person. It doesn't matter. Always see the car in person before you buy it. Even the prospect of you asking to see it in person might bring out the scammer, because they might, say, no, it's okay. You don't need to see it. Everything's good. That might even bring out just enough information for you to know it's a scam. The other thing is if the individual won't speak to you on the phone, that's also a good indication that this may not be legitimate. And then you always want to be careful, never pay for anything via wire transfer or using gift cards or peer-to-peer payment apps even. Those are ways that scammers can take your money and then you have no way to get it back. If possible, pay, with a credit card. If not, a check and things like that, your bank can work with you if there becomes a problem. But you never want to do a wire transfer or anything like a gift card or anything like that.
We're joined by Ashley Gibbard, the marketing manager of the Better Business Bureau, serving Eastern Michigan and the Upper Peninsula on the Michigan Megacast. Ashley, another minute or two with you before we'll need to say goodbye today. At this time, any other alerts from the Better Business Bureau or things that people in the state of Michigan should be keeping in mind at this moment in time?
Yeah, so one thing we actually just kind of started sharing about today and that we're seeing a lot of right now are what we call sweepstakes scams. So we're hearing a lot of consumers locally getting phone calls claiming they won Publishers Clearinghouse or some sort of other sweepstakes. They won $4 million in a new car. All they have to do is either pay, taxes or send, $2,000 to get their car shipped to them, something of that sort. So we're hearing a lot of reports of that. And sometimes they even call and say, we're verified by the Better Business Bureau and stuff like that. So they even throw us into that mix to make them sound more legitimate. When it comes to that, the biggest thing to remember is you have to enter a contest to win it. Unfortunately, we're not all going to get phone calls that say we won $4 million and have it be true. As much as we all might want that to happen, it's just not the case. And then you never have to pay to win a prize. If you won a contest, you'll never have to pay taxes on that check or that information to get it sent to you or anything like that. So those are the two biggest things to kind of keep in mind. If you receive a phone call, it can come in the form of a phone call or a letter. We've heard people receiving letters recently saying the same thing. But just keep that in mind. You have to enter a contest to win it, and you'll never have to pay to receive your winnings.
Ashley, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us.
Sure, my pleasure.